What's up, guys? Hope you guys are having a great weekend. We are back here on Sunday for Subclass Sunday. Today we'll be looking at the Titan Sunbreaker. So this is probably one of the more controversial supers when it first came out. Now after being out for quite a while, it's kind of been nerfed down enough that it's pretty level playing field. When it first came out, there was no way to really stop this guy. He'd throw hammers across the map, they'd track ridiculous amounts, and then the explosion after they died was massive. People could not stand him, but everybody used him. But after all the nerfing, the hammers aren't as strong. Sometimes you've seen supers survive them, not as much as usual. I think they wanted, I guess. But it's definitely lower than it was. The tracking is almost nothing if you have the one upgrade thing called Flame Seeker. So it's not nearly as overpowered, but it is still very strong in the right hands. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it with the normal grenades. We have the Fusion Grenade, Thermite Grenade, and Incendiary. Fusion Grenade is a sticky grenade. I don't use sticky grenades because I never seem to get them to work. If you get them in the vicinity of somebody, normally they'll kind of snap to the opponent. Every time I do it, they act as a gravity and it gravitates around them and throws it off randomly. I can't get them to work. If you can get stickies to work, go for it. They're actually very strong. The Thermite Grenade is the new grenade that was added in with the subclass. It's very similar to the Void Wall Grenade from the Hunter, the Voidwalker Hunter. And it's okay. It's nothing to call home about. Then the Incendiary Grenade, which is what I use on my Gunslinger Hunter, is amazing. If you can get the Bounce Grenade to work, it's awesome. So if you like sticky grenades, Fusion Grenades are still really strong. Incendiaries are amazing if you can get the skill curve and learn how to use them and get the bounce on your side. They are pretty awesome. Then moving on to the melee. The Titan doesn't have any good melees. The Sunstrike, it hits them with a fire punch and they burn a little bit. But as we all know, Titans have T-Rex arms and they suck at meleeing. Don't rely on your melee for the Titan. That's not what he's there for. But if it comes down to it, I mean, it is effective. It does do damage, so if you can make it land, you can. There's quite a few even in this gameplay. I walk up like 3 feet away, a distance that any normal super would have hit, or sorry, any melee would have hit, and it decided it wasn't going to hit because it really just swung about an inch in front of me. So kind of a waste, but it works. It's kind of the way to balance the Titans, because it makes them a little less powerful if they don't have a melee ability. But we'll go ahead and look at the modifiers for the melee first. We have Melting Point, burns away a target's defense. Target takes more damage while the Melting Point is active. This is a more PvE if you want to run up and punch a boss, and then your team can kind of unload on them. I don't think it's terribly useful. The other one I don't think is terribly useful is Stroke the Forge. Reduced melee cooldown, and if the melee if the melee strike kills the Sunstrike, you instantly recharge your Sunstrike. Again, I don't really care if my melee is charged up or not. It doesn't do enough for me to be super critical about having it. But the one I always run then is Thermal Vent. If you hit a Sunstrike melee, it releases a small solar explosion, which is very nice. If you're kind of in a group, you can punch one guy and it kind of explodes around and burns people, makes a little sunspot, so anyone who walks near it gets burnt to a crisp. That's probably the most useful out of the three in my opinion. Looking at the super, this guy's super is very unique and I absolutely love using it. It is called the Hammers of Soul, and it's literally what it sounds like. You light hammers on fire and you throw them at people. They are really, really fun to use. I absolutely love using them. So the modifiers for these guys are Forge Master. You throw more hammers and the hammers cause a bigger explosion. That is kind of a must-have, I think. There's also another kind of must-have, but you can't have both obviously. It's called Sun Charge. If you press RB or R1 at your PlayStation when you're using your super, you do a flame charge ability. So there's really two ways to run this subclass. I always use throwing the hammers as my option, but you can use another one that's kind of an ability that you don't throw your hammers at all. You run around with your super and you flame charge with it. And flame charge is just like shoulder charge. You just kind of charge through the enemies with flame around you. Not too much of a creative name there. And it's very effective, but I've never used that method, so I'd say go with the Forge Master over the... Sorry, I lost ROS. Over the Sun Charge. Unless you want the Sun Charge method, then the rest of this video probably won't apply to you, because that's going to be very close quarters and more built on melee. I don't do the melee method. So the third modifier for the third choice of modifier for that one is the Scorched Earth. Leaves a sunspot where the hammers hit. Again, that's not terribly useful in my opinion, so I definitely wouldn't even put that one in the running. Modifier 3, we have Flame Seeker. The hammers track towards enemies. This is the perk I told you was heavily nerfed earlier on in one of the updates. Rightfully so, because you could throw them across the map and you'd see them hook towards the enemies, and that was a little bit ridiculous. So that's been toned down quite a bit, but it's still very effective. The second choice is Explosive Pyre. Enemies killed by hammers explode, damaging other enemies. Pretty nice ability. The explosive damage to other enemies isn't massive, so don't rely on it too heavily. And then the third one is Fleet Fire. Enemies killed by your fire grant bonus agility and reload time. Again, that feels like a wasted perk for me, so I'd skip that one for sure. I'd normally go with Flame Seeker, and I'll tell you why when we get to the exotics, because I kind of have, there's a way to get Cauterize as well, or sorry, not Cauterize, Explosive Pyre as well. So we'll move on to the final set of modifiers. We have Simmering Flame. When your super is full, grenade and melee charge faster. Not terribly, I mean, it's kind of useful, but I want to use my super as soon as I get it for the most kills possible with it. You have Fire Keeper, which means standing in a sunspot gives you overshield and hammers last longer. Again, nothing crazy I think you should ever worry about, because in this category there is one extreme standout that I think if you're going to run hammers you have to use, and that is Cauterize. Enemies killed by any of your fire, which would be your super, your grenades, or your melee, your charged melee, will instantly regen your health to full. Unless you get shot while regenning, then it pauses it. But that is extremely strong and a must-have in my opinion. Really, that's kind of what you have to use in PvP. PvE, I guess, is more open interpretation. You can kind of do what you want, but this isn't really a subclass I'd use in PvE that often, because it is highly aggressive, so you don't really want to be going highly aggressive in the middle of a raid, because that kind of leads to bad things, so I really wouldn't advise doing that. But, well, let's go and move on to the exotics. I was talking about, you have, I'd always run Flame Seeker for my first ability, which is very good for the modifier, because I like to track. But Explosive Pyre is very good, but you can't have it and Flame Seeker if you're using the Immolation Fist, which are the only exotic specifically for the Sunbreaker Titan, which is because it was added in as the final subclass for the Titan, and that was only added in just over a year ago now. So it's not like there's too many exotics based specifically for this guy. But using the Immolation Fist grants Explosive Pyre, which is extremely useful, because that way not only does it track, you explode when it tracks. That's pretty ridiculous in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and I'll show on screen now, we'll pop up my subclass, how I run it, and that's really the only way I think is best to run it, unless you want to use the shoulder charge method. Other than that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys give you a little bit of insight on the Sunbreaker Titan, and other than that, I hope you have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.